So who done it? Right. So that's pretty accusatory, and that was like a few days ago. I think maybe a week ago. Again, it's come out in that was 8 days ago. This was also 8 days ago. This was also looking at deductively who had the most to gain. We knew it.
I know that guy did it.
We knew it.
I know that guy did it.
Yep. Come on, Jimmy.
Who did it?
What?
Yep.
The effing F.
Yeah, we know.
Are you kidding me?
Shout out to Joe at STFU shitlib too. Follow Joe.
Bitches.
Yep. Hi, Steph. Okay, so Ramesh Thakur from the Spectator.au, and I found this little piece a couple days ago. I was having a Facebook argument with somebody, and they were trying to insist that, well, because we didn't have exact evidence and they never did the investigation, and we now know that they will never do a joint investigation, and why, it's all speculation and it's all Russian propaganda. Well, we're going to look at, Occam's razor. What is the simple and most obvious explanation? And we're going to take a look at a couple different breakdowns of that. Hey, Bert, welcome on the Rock Fan. What's up, man? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us over here, over on How Did We Miss That? It's Sunday night. It is the end of October, and Reef is not dressed for Halloween. And, of course, Indy put on a new outfit a couple weeks ago, and we're still trying that on, so that's my costume. All right, so Moscow, of course, blames hostile actors for last month's underwater explosions that blew up the Nord Stream pipelines connecting it to Germany. We know this. Western mainstream media has mostly accepted Russia's culpability. Okay. However, Michael Fowler and David Rundell in Newsweek, nearly 90% of the world isn't following us on Ukraine. Don't hold your breath for an impartial and independent investigation. With 4 plausible suspects in classic thriller style, it's worth looking at means, opportunity, and most revealingly, motive. Who done it? Yes, that's right, Colin. Reef is dressed as a pothead, and he's good at it. And he's extra smoky tonight. By the way, if you go to Dr. Smoke...
Spooky red. Spooky.
Ooh, almost orangey. If you go to drsmokey.cloud, by the way, that'll actually take you to Reef's link tree. It's hilarious. I don't know if he even knew that.
Nice.
But anyway, drsmokey.cloud. Anyway, so the sophisticated operation about Nord Stream, getting back to Nord Stream 2 and not talking about Reef smoking weed. Sophisticated operation, of course, was likely involving a well-trained and equipped Navy, special forces, technical planning, and specialist logistical support, had to involve one or more state actors. All 4 potential suspects fit the bill. Any country with the means would have plenty of opportunity, but considering the location in waters around Poland, Denmark, and Sweden, it would be more challenging for Russia than the others to escape complete detection. Regarding motive, it's worth asking a favorite question in crime thrillers. Cui bono? Okay? History is full of examples, full of powerful countries conducting false flag operations, provoking military incidents, or issuing impossible ultimatums as the trigger to attack for an invasion. In the Mukden incident in 1931, Japanese troops bombed a railway under their own control as the pretext to invade Manchuria and establish the puppet state of Manchukuo.
Manchukuo.
Yep. In 1933, of course, the Nazis set fire to the Reichstag, and Hitler exploited that to rule under emergency powers until 1945. In 1938, Britain and France delayed a war by a year by appeasing Hitler's designs on Czechoslovakia in the infamous Munich Pact. We don't really hear about that much in school, I'll tell you right now. In 1964, 2 U.S. destroyers, of course, we know, were attacked off the coast of Vietnam. LBJ describing it as an unprovoked, described it as unprovoked, despite clandestine U.S. activities in support of South Vietnamese sabotage inside North Vietnam, got Congress to pass the Tonkin Gulf Resolution that allowed a steady escalation of the Vietnam War. In 1999, again, NATO went to war against Serbia because President Milosevic rejected the Rambouillet ultimatum on Kosovo that dictated the terms of political settlement between the central and provincial governments. Again, we're going back again all these times where we're breaking stuff and we're setting false flags. Again, in November 2002, Iraq agreed to comply unconditionally with UN Security Council Resolution 1441 that imposed tough inspections. Thwarted in their desire to provoke Saddam Hussein into defying the UN as the pretext to go to war, Tony Blair and George Bush scrambled to fix intelligence around the decision to invade Iraq with as much illegality as Putin's invasion of Ukraine. I mean, if you're going to say one is the same, one is the same. What they're talking there is yellow cake uranium, if I remember correctly. So Russia has the least to gain and the most to lose from the act of sabotage that destroyed a lucrative export lifeline and its main source of leverage over Europe. So why exactly? Yeah. In a tortured explanation, James Crisp in the UK Telegraph argues that blowing up the pipelines was a page ripped straight from Vladimir Putin's playbook of panic, escalation, and misdirection. What? Yeah, that will raise soaring gas prices and exacerbate the cost of living crisis in Europe. But Russia could
Fuck you.
Right. Thank you, Jimmy. But Russia could have simply just turned off the valves without destroying a very expensive asset. Chris speculates further that the explosions could be a warning of what Russia could do to pipelines from Norway. Telegraph readers were not impressed. Right. David Anderson clarified Crisp's thesis with words worthy of Sir Humphrey Appleby. Putin may or may not have done something which doesn't appear to make any difference, but perhaps he's doing it because he may or may not be planning to do something in the future. Yep. That about sums it up.
Dude,
and then we've got
Humphrey Appleby seems like a My Little Pony like alt character.
It probably is.
That's what it seems like.
It probably is.
You
so
know, it's like off-brand My Little Pony has Sir Roger Appleby.
So Ramesh Thakur is praising here Tucker Carlson, Jeffrey Sachs, legend, and Joe Rogan, who are among the few with the stature and courage, Joe Rogan, to discuss the possibility that the U.S. may itself have been behind the blast. Count Jimmy Dore and
who are these people?
Yeah. What?
Who are these people?
Joe. What's up, Joe? Oh, Joe Rogan?
Joe Hogan.
Oh, man. Okay, so
Hogan.
Victoria Newland, of course, we know Yats is the guy. She's a senior diplomat, and I use the term loosely, you understand, of fuck the EU fame during Ukraine's political upheavals in 2014, insisted on January 27th that if Russia invades Ukraine, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward. Of course, we know that on February 7th, President Biden said that if Russia invaded Ukraine, there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2, which was a weird jumbled sentence to begin with. There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. Yep. Press to explain how. Well, we will, I promise you, we will be able to do it.
But what about the Nord Stream 3?
Well, I don't think that's going to get built right now. So Poland's former defense minister.
We need trilogies.
Right, and
that's
of course,
what Hollywood loves.
Public of the husband of the Polish-American Atlantic columnist Anne Applebaum, who's a Russia hawk, Radek Sikorski,
another My Little Pony character.
Well, wait a minute. But this is the dude that tweeted "Thank you USA" with the picture of the pipeline thing. Remember that? But it got deleted like 15 minutes later because it turns out that his wife's a diplomat or his wife is connected to something. It's like, oh shit, delete that. Yeah, Radek Sikorski. His wife is a columnist for the Atlantic. All right. Which, of course, Russia immediately noted, and everybody noted. So, I must be a Russian asset. Ridiculous. After the attack, Secretary of State Blinken said, it's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy and thus take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs. Again, hilarious when you compare it to all the bases and all the places where we are trying to push American businesses and American business interests. and do it militarily primarily. Just take a look at what's happening in Africa and, of course, Ukraine, where we destabilized their government in 2014, which Ramesh here had pointed out. So, this confirms that Newland and Biden's earlier remarks reflected a deliberate strategy. Okay, Jonathan Cook, he's another Indie Media Award honoree. He suggests that if Europe turns a blind eye to evidence of the U.S. role in the explosions, it would denote an acceptance of vassal status. But would the U.S. really attack a piece of joint Germany-Russia infrastructure that is critical to Europe coping with an anticipated harsh winter in which people fear having to choose between heating and eating? Listen to this. It's more likely the U.S. approved the attack and helped with support and planning without direct participation, which aligns perfectly. Again, this was on October 22nd. This aligns perfectly with what Russia is now speculating. Okay, and on the 29th or on the 30th. So Poland has both commercial and historical reasons. Okay. The Nord Stream pipelines would reduce lucrative transit fees for gas shipments from Norway to Europe through Poland. It's been at the forefront of efforts to help Ukraine with all possible means and uncompromising in opposing any concessions to Moscow. Of course, they're full of Nazis too. Speaking of Kiev in August, President Duda called for the liquidation, the complete dismantling of Nord Stream 2. Yeah. Yet the notion that Poland would risk a grave rupture of relations with Germany seems a little far-fetched. Ukraine, of course, had the least to lose and the most to gain from the explosions. It's a tit-for-tat response to Russian attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure. The victim of Russian aggression, already at war and determined to recapture lost territory on the battlefield or regain them through economic pressure, Ukraine is the least concerned with escalation that will entangle NATO and the U.S. directly. Actually, they want to very much entangle U.S. and NATO. Commercially, Nord Stream enables the supply of Russian gas without having to pass through Ukraine. A significant revenue loss and a diminution, it should say diminution, it's missing an I, of influence in Europe. Right? Geopolitically, the damage deprives Russia of a critical lever to blackmail Europe. Again, blackmail Europe. This is ridiculous. It's still coming from a Western source, so you have to look at the bias.
Yeah.
But he's getting it mostly right. Assuming that the act is require close partnership with U.S. intelligence and military in training, supplies, logistical support, and crucial information, it will also enhance Ukraine's credibility as a potential NATO ally, which is why Ukraine didn't do it. But meanwhile, Ukraine is not a NATO member, and therefore Russia has not still been directly attacked by NATO, an important firebreak against uncontrolled escalation through nuclear threshold. Except that we're already at the brink there, and I don't think that they really give a shit at this point. And now we get to a couple of graphics that I took a look at and that I did some research on Twitter. Again, I am not going to profess to the accuracy of these. I'm going to say that logically these look like they make a lot of sense. However, I'm not an underwater explosives expert. I don't profess to be. This is a graphic I found off of Twitter. You can see that at Chuck Farrer and Eric Wyman, I don't even know who they are. However, you can clearly see here that one of the arguments that's coming from the liberals is that the Russians detonated this from the inside, that they sent a motorized device, some kind of drone inside and exploded it from the inside to make it look like somebody else did it. Except that when you take a look at exactly how it was done and the way the rupture happened and the way the explosion happened, you can see here that, again, it's impossible to say that it happened from the inside. So that's first.
With the interior liner, like, still pretty intact there, too.
Correct. Right? And the steel peeled outward to perpendicular to blast waves, again, which only would have happened from the outside, but would have gone a different direction from the inside based upon...
because that shape charge or whatever, like you also have the power of water, which
Yep.
could easily cut through steel like that. So, and especially if you give it a small fracture to go into. So, those things will be like water razor blades pretty much.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
so
right, so you're looking at the gas flow coming this way, them setting off those charges. I don't know what the difference of the gas flow is. It's just understanding which way this came out. So that was an interesting one I found. And then of course we have this one. This was not from Ramesh. Sorry, I forgot to take that out from the slide. I found this one on Twitter. Who hates Russian pipelines? USA. Who tried stop being built? USA. Who said they destroyed them? USA. Who benefits from their destruction? Us. Who destroyed them? We have no idea.
we have no idea.
Blue Moon Red Wine. What's up, Lucy? How are you? INN fam. Go check out her channel. Everyone go subscribe to Blue Moon Red Wine if you're not already. Okay, I'll wait. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to wait. But go subscribe to her channel and come back. So, actually, you can click on her name, I believe, in the YouTube chat, and you can subscribe to her channel right that way. And then, of course, we have the most obvious Occam's razor, and you can see that our friend Ruski Orkbot 3000 posted this one, right? Russia invested billions into Nord Stream 1 and 2, then sailed undetected all the way to Poland, exactly where the U.S. Navy was testing underwater drones days prior, and blew up their own pipeline. Yes, complete clown show. So